All right. So, Grin, thank you very much for joining us this morning. I'm excited to have Elk County Conservation District present today about their 2025 ACAP dinner. Given our federal spending deadline, the addition of new dedicated state funds that's coming in, it's really going to be imperative that we have projects in the pipeline and be ready to fund projects to get these funds expended on time. So this morning, Allison with Elk County Conservation District is going to talk to you about their approach to building interest in the program and a recent event that they held. Morning, Allison.
Morning.
You can take it away.
Awesome. So I'm Allison. But the name would be Kate under this. I'm in her office right now. She's in the background, so she might chime in at some point. So just a heads up there. So I will start on this presentation. So I wanted to start out here. Maybe. Okay. So I wanted to start out here by talking about the farming in Elk County. It's not similar to anything near like what Lancaster has. So we have very little farming, and most of our farmers are hobby farmers. And what I mean by saying that is most of them have full-time jobs and the farming is on the side.
Allison, 1 second. If you think your presentation is up, it's not up yet.
Oh, okay.
Thanks. Oh, it appears that others are seeing it.
Yeah, Jake, I can see your slides.
All I'm seeing is video. Okay, carry on.
Okay. So, yeah, it's mostly hobby farmers. They mostly have full-time jobs with the farming on the side. This is actually like the first conservation funding for farmers in Elk County. This ACAP program is kind of the start of like our connection to the ag in Elk County. With that, we also don't have any CAFOs. We do our ACAP funding in funding rounds, so kind of similar to dirt and gravel roads. This year we are accepting applications and they are due in March and in August. And then Elk County is not nutrient management delegated, but with that, if farmers do need to get nutrient management plans or manure management plans, we do get funding from the county to help fund ag E&S plans and manure management plans or nutrient management plans. So again, just saying, like, before this ACAP funding came about here, we had a lack of connection with the ag community in Elk County. So I'm trying to bring those connections and hopefully reach out to as many farmers in Elk County as possible. So the question is, how do you get people interested in ACAP when you don't have a big connection to the agricultural community? So previously, we've kind of been trying to reach out to NRCS, telling them people who get equip contracts, like if you can recommend, like we have funding available to help with the out-of-pocket costs for NRCS projects. And then also we have a pretty good following on Facebook. So we've been making Facebook posts announcing our funding rounds and trying to educate people about what we are doing with this ACAP program. So with that, we've kind of last year lacked the applications that we wanted. So we decided, what can we do to get people interested, get people to know about the program in general? So we decided about doing an event. So what event should we hold? We do have a dirt and gravel annual update meeting every year. It is a breakfast, and the township guys really like the breakfast. Like, some of them have to invite the whole crew to the breakfast, or else they will pretty much quit. So that's like a good outreach for us in the dirt and gravel low volume roads world. So we kind of wanted to find something similar to that for ACAP. So with the in mind, keeping our farmers that are hobby farmers, they mostly have day jobs. So we were thinking maybe dinner would be a better option for farmers in our county. With that, we also thought it was important for us to we got a caterer that is going to find food that's locally sourced. We think that that's a big thing for farmers in Elk County, that Elk County would appreciate us going the extra mile doing that as well. With that, also to announce that like our funding, we have a funding round that ends at the end of March. So January was kind of the greatest month for us because we can accept them up to 90 days ahead of time. So if someone were to come to our event and submit one the week after, we would be able to accept it with the 90-day sort of situation with ACAP. So more information about the ACAP dinner. It was held from 5:30 to 7:30 on January 14th. We wanted to pick a place that was big enough to fit over 100 people comfortably. I knew that that was probably a lot more people than what we would need. I was shooting for the stars, you know, and we did end up getting about 45 people, and I'm hoping in the future we will get more people in and getting them to learn about ACAP. So then on to like, how do I want it set up? How do I want to do this? I don't really want to just have them come in, you know, sit through a presentation, hopefully not fall asleep, and then like have dinner and like off they go. So I kind of thought of the idea of doing a tabling, just because I also didn't want us to give the people who were tabling like 15-minute presentation. I thought the tabling situation would have been better option, just so then they can get to know the people who were tabling, and the people can offer some services if that's what they wanted, and flyers and stuff like that. So we did have people tabling. We had Jake Tomlinson from the center. We had the Elk County Farm Bureau there. We had Penn State Master Gardeners had a table, and then we had information about NRCS there as well, with also the Elk County Conservation District staff was hosting a table as well. So into advertising for this, so we thought that we wanted to do something at the beginning of last year. So I had it in my mind of what we wanted to do. So I had it in my head come like October time. I was like, let's get this ready. Let's get this set up. So I started the thought process of what I want to do, when we want to do it, like where we want to hold it. And so this has been like, this was planned like months ahead of time for a lot of things, and then we just kept going with the planning. So we did at the end of like November, right after Thanksgiving, we sent out mailings of the advertisement for this ACAP dinner. And you can see the picture or the screen print of the invitation right here. We ended up, one of my coworkers was bored one day and was like, what can I do? So he ended up going on our GIS. We have like a association with the county that does a flyby drone of all of Elk County, and we're able to see parcels of properties, and that's how we found some of the farms through that. And then I also reached out to the Elk County Farm Bureau, and they were able to give me some of their listings of farmers with their mailing address as well. So we ended up sending mailings for over 100 addresses. It was closer to about 120. And then in those mailings, we sent this ACAP invitation, and then we also had an informal informational flyer about ACAP. And then another thing that we did for advertising, since we have a pretty good following on Facebook, we did do Facebook posts. We did 3 different Facebook posts in about 3 different weeks leading up to the ACAP dinner. We ended up boosting the last Facebook post was $9.99. And between those 3 posts, we had views of 13,500 people. So preparing for the dinner, so we work heavily with PACD. Cassie Daniels from PACD on this side of the state. She helps us a lot with our INEs and signs off on a lot of our practices. So we are very grateful to have her as a tag employee helping us with our projects. So with that, when I was thinking about doing this ACAP dinner, I definitely wanted to reach out to her to, if she couldn't give like a presentation, she ended up not being able to be there, but I also wanted to be able to have the farmers sign up right then and there at the ACAP dinner instead of me trying to hunt them down. So I did have a list of dates that her and I were both available so that they could sign up right then and there to have a site visit, because we like to have go see the farm, take some pictures, just so we can take that to our board for approving the ACAP applications. So we had dates collected, and then farmers who attended the dinner could also just sign up right then and there for a date for us to come out. Then we also had information and sign up for things that we offer here at the district, such as soil probes. We let people borrow those. I end up making a flyer for that. We do have a no-till drill, which is also a new thing here for the Elk County Conservation District and for Elk County for the farmers to rent out. And then we also had manure sample containers from the Agricultural Analytical Services Laboratory. And that's this was something that our NRCS office had reached out and said that we should have these in case anyone would come to our office and ask if we had these containers. So we had those there as well for people to take if they were interested. I also wanted to point out that the center has flyers about like these flyers up here. For you guys, for anyone to reach out to get some. If you are planning to do mailings or something, I do recommend reaching out and seeing if they can get you some. We ended up copying this, oh, hold on. Copying this one up in the corner on our printer, and ended up, because I didn't have enough to send in all the mailings. So we ended up printing these out on our printer with just paper copies, which worked as well, but they do have that available for you. So on to our presentations. Again, I want to reiterate the event time was from 5:30 to 7:30. So I didn't really want people to show up, eat, and then like leave. That was kind of something that made me a little nervous about happening. So I decided that I was going to have us do a 30-minute presentation at the beginning. And then halfway through, we would have dinner. And then after that, we would do another 30-minute presentation. So at least if they just up and left, they at least got something of a presentation. And then in this picture, this is actually what we had for dinner, which was really, really delicious. So I wanted to explain like what we explained in our presentations. So in the first presentation, which was given by our district manager here, Kate Whaler, she does a great job with presenting stuff about the conservation district. So she ended up explaining what is a conservation district and how we get our funding. She explained what is ACAP. She did a great job of explaining how it originally came from like a thought process of dirt and gravel roads, and this is kind of going similar side by side with that. So then she also explained how it started, and like did a good explanation of explaining why districts were selected to administer the program. She explains like local control, local priorities, local knowledge, and then also doing it side by side with dirt and gravel roads. She also did a good explanation of explaining our partners. You know, we throw out acronyms a lot. We even talked today how we to the general public, us using the NRCS, PACD, the centers, stuff like that. The general public doesn't understand, so she kind of explained you know, how our partners as well as how we get our money. So then after the dinner, so the dinner followed this presentation, and then we served, again, like I said, we tried to find as many local products for the dinner as possible. We got the turkey and mashed potatoes and canned goods from a local farm. So on to presentation number 2. I was explaining like what are the strings, you know, free money is usually never free. So like, what's the catch? So we had to explain that like you have to get your ag plans. We explained that your animal concentration areas must be addressed first, and that also the projects must be installed to NRCS specs. We kind of explained that the NRCS specs multiple times because we have a lot of contractors in Elk County who like to do their things their own way. So we definitely had to reiterate multiple times that the project must be installed to NRCS specs. So then we went into explaining what type of projects we can pay for. A lot of people like who previously have worked with NRCS, you know, they only pay for a percentage of the work. So we had to explain that like we can pay up to 100% for that. And then we explained like what type of conservation practices that we can fund. And then we also went through that. I actually took this slide. This slide was actually from my presentation. And I took the best management practices that the SEC gave us, and I listed them all here, but I only explained more into detail the highlighted ones. So those were kind of the ones that we've seen more common and that was a need in Elk County. So then we also went into explaining previous projects that we have funded. We didn't want to use name or numbers because that might get a little hairy and some people might be questioning some of those numbers and stuff. So we definitely didn't want to include those. And we also had some farmers there who had previous projects with us that we also didn't want to like name drop and have other farmers questioning them about that. So what we kind of did was then we had before and after pictures, and I explained like what the practices that were implemented. So continuing on to the second, on the second part presentation, I then went into what can we pay for, explaining that we can pay for equipment rentals, materials, and labor. So pretty much most things with this that involves this project, like we can pay for. And then we also did a small explanation of prevailing wage. We didn't want to overwhelm them. But we wanted to explain that there would have to be prevailing wage if the project came in over $25,000. And then because, you know, with partnering with NRCS, they don't have to do prevailing wage. So we wanted to explain to people who have been familiar with doing projects with NRCS that we're kind of different in the way of the prevailing wage. So then we went into the details of the different payment options that we offer. So in previous years, we have had issues with farmers, the grant money getting sent to them. They were having issues with their taxes. So a new thing that we are offering this year is we are giving the option to pay the contractors directly, just so then it doesn't affect their taxes. And honestly, it takes kind of the money situation out of the farmers' hands. So then we went into details of like, so what's next? Like, how do you even get started? So I pushed for farmers to schedule a site visit before submitting an application, and that's where having Cassie and I the available dates at having it at that dinner was a good option. So then they can just go right to our table and sign up right then and there. And then we also went into like the ranking process. So I didn't want people, if I have an influx of lots of applications, I didn't want them to get discouraged of if they apply once, they can only apply once. I wanted to explain that, you know, your application gets ranked with all the other ones, And then from there, we kind of just go down the list as long as your application is a good project. You usually do get funded if you are at the top, but the bottom, we usually just don't fund yours because we don't have enough funding at that round. So then, and then we went into, this also was one of the slides from my presentation. We just wanted to explain that we do have a funding round in March, but we also have a funding round in August in case, like, you know, we couldn't get everything in March, or, you know, they had to talk to some other people first about doing this. Like, I wanted them to know that we had multiple rounds of funding that year. And also being upfront with the amount that we have. So telling them, like, we have this amount of money, so we are hoping to fund that this round, and then, yeah. So what was the outcome? Like, what did we think? So we did have about 45 people attend the event. We believe this event went very well. I've had many people come up to me and be like that this was a good dinner, like you did very well. They expressed that they want this to be like a multi-year event, which we are planning on doing this next year and hopefully for years to come. We are hoping that people have a better understanding of what we can pay for as far as projects goes, with ACAP, kind of separating us from like what NRCS does compared to like what the ACAP program is. And then I also wanted to tell you all that I did get 8 new farm visits on my schedule because of this event. So it was successful in the outreach prospect of that. So what I kind of wanted to explain, like what we build to ACAP for this dinner. So we build this to tech assistants. We build Carol's, which is our secretary, and I's time. So the time at the event and also the time planning. This didn't really happen overnight, so we do have a lot of hours in the planning process. So we did end up billing that to the ACAP tech assistant. And then we also billed the venue rental, and that also included fees to use their projector and speakers. And then we also, the catering, which was $17 a plate, was billed to ACAP as well. And then also we did the Facebook event ad for $9.99. That was also billed to ACAP. So what would we do better, and what would we do the same, and then what would we do better? So the things that we would keep the same is we would keep it in the evenings. As I said before, like we have mostly hobby farmers. I think it worked for most people. And there were some people who were interested that weren't able to make it due to previous events or even work related issues. There were some people who called me and I ended up getting them on the schedule as well because they saw the flyer and were interested. So like that was also a good reach out for them as well. So we would also keep the same, having an actual dinner. I think that the farmers really enjoyed the full meal, having a nice hot meal. Like not to offend anyone if they did go to the chicken salad sandwiches route, but we think that the farmers will keep the memory of the good meal, and maybe we'll want to come again next year with the good meal and stuff. I also would like to keep the same, keeping the tabling and then also the presentations. I thought it kept the farmers busy at the beginning, just so they didn't just sit at a table and just waited for the presentations to start. They were able to go around, talk to these people, you know, if they were interested in getting like a soil sampling or a soil testing kit. Like I had someone there, the master gardeners had like those available, and I just thought it went well with speaking to people in other areas in farming, but also kind of not related to ACAP, but kind of also. Also keeping the time of year, I think winter was a good time to have this for farmers. You know, they're not really doing too much with a foot of snow on the ground, so we will be keeping it in the winter time. And then also I wanted to mention this. Like we let people loose when the presentations were over. It was about like 7:15 that we ended up wrapping things up. We didn't keep them until exactly 7:30. And that was also helpful with, if they had any other questions, like they were able to come to me or to come to Kate. And then also they were able to go around at those tables again, talk to those people and have, if they had any other questions, didn't get the opportunity to at the beginning. So some of the things that we would do differently, we did try reaching out to plan writers because Elk County isn't nutrient management delegated. This is like a big hurdle that we have to get farmers their plans and stuff because most of them do not have them. We did try and reach out, but we were unsuccessful. But next year we're going to try harder to get someone up here since a lot of them are closer to the southern end of the state for plane riders. We had a couple questions after the presentations of what is a resource concern. So we are going to hopefully we made notes and we are going to add that into the presentation for next year. A lot of people, we didn't think of people not knowing what that means. So we're going to be better conscious of some of the acronyms and terms that we use to be better for next year. And then also I want to leave extra time for people to go around the tables and talk at the beginning. I didn't leave too much time, but I think 15 minutes at the beginning would be good for next year to have people just talk, because that seemed to be the best time for people to go to those tables and talk to the other people that came out of their way and took their time out of their day to come out and speak to these farmers in Elk County. So for future events, for this ACAP dinner and also for Elk County Conservation District, we are planning to make this an annual event, and we are hoping to add awards, like an example, like Farmer of the Year. We are also hoping to transition this event to more of an updating the farmer instead of an ACAP explanation. Now that might not be next year or even the year after, but hopefully we can transition that into just updating. Hopefully we have enough people who know about ACAP and understand it, and it can just go into an update meeting. So future events that we are holding at the Elk County Conservation District for farmers, we are hoping to do a farmers only ACAP tour. So we're trying to get this in like in the springtime. So I know that like it's not a great time to show off farms. It's really muddy up here at this time. So I thought maybe having farmers come out and look at these projects, explain to them like what was the thought process of doing these, like what happened well, what would we do differently, and explaining this to farmers who might be on the fence about applying to ACAP. And then also like giving them a chance to talk to other farmers about the program, how they thought it went, getting connections through agriculture with us and also to other farmers. We also like kind of wanted this to be like invitation only. So people who I have talked to who are interested in ACAP. So hopefully we can just get people to give them a little push to apply for ACAP. And then hopefully sometime in the summertime, we're going to hold a public farm tour to show people what we are doing and some of the good things that we are doing here in Elk County for the farmers. And with that, I can take any questions if anyone has any. And here's my contact information. If you are trying to plan an event and you aren't sure where to even start or anything, like don't hesitate to reach out to me.
Excellent. That was great, Kate or Allison. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. That was from my visit there at the event. It was really great, and it was pretty exciting to see the new farmers in the room and things like that. So if anybody has any questions for Allison, you can ask them directly right now, unmute yourselves, or, don't forget about the chat as well. I'll send a message here so the chat comes right up on your screen. Give it one more minute here in case folks are typing.
Yep.
One thing I'll add while we're thinking and ruminating on questions is the idea of having signups at the event. I thought was a really great idea, and it led to having 8 new visits and potentially 8 new applications, which is awesome from one event. Um, just for the folks on the call, the districts on the call who may not have access to a tag engineer locally and may not have quite the same relationship or just access to site visits by that individual or another person, feel free to reach out to your local SCC representative or any of us educator staff at the center. We'd be happy to help you with those type of things too. I think it went really well having that sign up at the event.
Definitely, I agree. I didn't have to track down farmers or anything, or do a phone tag sort of situation. I would call them before I went to their site visits, and it all went very well.
Right. Mostly I'm just seeing comments that say great job and thank you. And I echo that. If no one has any direct questions right now, we'll let you get back to your day and start planning your next event.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Thanks for having me.